The Chicago Bulls are in the midst of a 3-game winning streak, which they could push to a 4-game winning streak when they take on the Los Angeles Clippers today. We're going to talk about today why this season hasn't been as bad as Chicago Bulls fans have made it out to be, why the front office still needs to make some changes to the roster regardless of how this season ends for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to look at that. We're also going to talk about Coby White and his chances for most improved player yet again, and we're going to preview tonight's game against the Los Angeles Clippers. By the way, it's mailbag day, so we're also going to get into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform that we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And so I want to talk about the Chicago Bulls and where they sit right now. The Chicago Bulls sit 1 game below 500, and we'll see if they can get to 500. Every time we get close there, the hopes get up, things like that. The Bulls go on a 3-game losing streak. So let's see if the Bulls, how they fare today against the Los Angeles Clippers, with who could be missing some players, which we'll talk about when we preview that game towards the end of the show. But I want to talk about this. At points this season, all of us, this is not to exclude any just one Bulls fandom. Everybody has been at the point where they have looked at this team and kind of said, it is what it is. The Bulls right now, we look at it, they have, since December 1st, have a record of 25-18, with this the 9th highest winning percentage in the NBA over that stretch. The team's net rating is right in the middle at 15th too, so we're right in the middle of the pack in the NBA. And so things have not been as bad as what some Bulls fans have made it out to be. And I think also, when you look at what we've dealt with, Zach LaVine's missed more games than he's played. Torrey Craig has missed a lot of games. Patrick Williams is out for the rest of the season. He's missed games for sure. Vooch, DeMar have all missed games over the course of the season. And of course, Alex Caruso. When you talk about missing games, Caruso's definitely going to miss some games. But over that stretch, we've had players like Coby White, Ayo Dosunmu really developed really well for the Chicago Bulls. We've also had players like Julian Phillips flash some things. Dalen Terry look way more advanced than what he was last season for sure, even though that still leaves a lot to be desired for. Then we've had like Erno Lapatin coming into the team, giving a little flashes there. But throughout all that, and while it's not as some bad as some Bulls fans that make it out to be like, oh, the Bulls have no asses, the Bulls have no future. And I think for a lot of Bulls fans, they have to update their narrative. The Bulls own all their own first-round picks, besides the one they owe next year to the San Antonio Spurs, if that does end up conveying. Right? If that doesn't, it kicks down the road. Other than that, we now own all our own draft picks. The Bulls have a not great cap situation, so that is a problem there. But we have young players also in the wings that we develop, and while you want to see if they're going to be able to do it at an NBA level, then Adama Sanogo, Henry Drell, those type of players, we still have players that are also developing. We now, for the first time as well, have a player development staff, which may be the best acquisition that the Chicago Bulls made this offseason in bringing in that player development department. Now, with that said, even with the rise of Coby White, with the rise of Ayo Dosunmu, with the injuries to Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Torrey Craig, Alex Caruso at times in the season, the Bulls still sit right now at 9th in the Eastern Conference and are right now projected to finish below 500. We'll see how strong the Bulls finish the season, because that could go a different way. But the Bulls right now are still very much hurt by a 4-15 start that just really has affected. The Bulls went like a more 500 area, or even slightly below, like let's say a 45% win percentage. We're looking at a team that's well above 500 at this point in the season. So, that plays a part in it as well. And while the fans, I think a lot of Bulls fans need to realize that this Bulls team isn't as bad off as what some people make it out to be. The bigger thing is that the front office needs to realize we're also not as good or as competitive as they try to make it out to be. The truth is somewhere between the middle of how a lot of Bulls fans feel about this team and how the front office sees this team. We're somewhere in the middle of that. And we still are at the place where we need to see some changes made to this roster. Now, full rebuild, what some people have called for, isn't coming. Even though I love Kenny Beecham, his narrative of like, oh, the Bulls should have gone full rebuild, it's not going to happen. And no, that should not have happened. But we are at a point where the Bulls need to make some serious decisions on some of the veterans and like Alonzo Ball's contract this upcoming offseason to better support the growth that we're getting from this team. And that's it, right? When you look at it, I've said it many times now, this team, the young players on this team, which should be the future of your team, want to play fast. They are better when they play fast, better when they get out in transition, better when they're doing those type of things. And we still are towards the bottom of the league in pace. And no, nobody's saying run just to run, right? That's run and gun. That's not what we're saying, but we're saying that you want to play with a quicker pace because that's where your roster is. That's what the makeup of this roster that you've put together is telling you that it needs to go, is to be a roster that can play quicker. Now, yes, we have some veterans in DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, who have adapted about as well as they can to play in a quicker pace. But, and I know it's going to be difficult. You can't move Nikola Vucevic more than likely. DeMar DeRozan, we'll see what happens with the future of DeMar DeRozan here. But where we sit right now as this franchise is a place where the fans' mindset on this, and some of the way that it's reported around the Bulls, isn't nearly as bad as what people make it out to be. And it's not as good as what it seems like the front office thinks this team is going to be. It is when they rest on their laurels and don't make moves to improve the team. Now, at some point, something needs to give. We're either going to bottom out and we're going to be as bad because, like I said, every year you don't technically improve is a year that the other teams around you are getting better, and thus you're getting worse in your standings. And I know some people still hold out hope for Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball and things like this. And I do think Zach is going to be on this team next year, at least up until the trade deadline. I think it's going to be difficult for the Bulls to move Zach. So incorporating him back in as well. But he's another player that does thrive in a faster pace offense. Lonzo got some decisions to make there. And that is where this team sits right now, is that this front office has to actually be willing to make tough decisions this offseason. And the bigger question that Chicago Bulls fans have on that is, will they? That I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, but let's get into it and talking about one of the players that have absolutely increased is Coby White. Now, Chris Paul came out and said that Coby White better get most improved player. A lot of people do agree with that, and it's by the nature of the name of the award. Coby White deserves to be most improved player, not Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey has had great stats this year, averaging 26 points per game, 6.3 assists, 3.7 rebounds per game, posting the 20th best offensive box plus minus in any player in the NBA. You cannot deny the player that Tyrese Maxey has been. Coby White, on the other hand, since November, after the Bulls kind of started off slow, Coby White's averaged 22.3 points per game, 5.9 assists, 5.6 rebounds over the span of 44 games. Again, yes, his consistency has been a problem at times, but you cannot deny what Coby White has been for this Chicago Bulls team and what it looks like he's going to continue to do. He does have some things he needs to grow on. We have an actual voicemail on that, so we'll talk about that when we get to that. But by the nature of the name of the award, Coby White has improved more than Tyrese Maxey has improved. When you look at it, Coby White has improved 10 points per game over what he did last season. Tyrese Maxey, 5.7 points per game over what he did last season. Assists, 2.5. Coby White's 2.5 assists more than last year's numbers. Tyrese Maxey, 2.8 more than what he did last season. Rebounds, Coby White's 1.9, basically 2. Tyrese Maxey, 0.8 more than what he did last season. Field goal shooting percentage. Coby White is shooting the ball 2.3% better overall from the field than what he did last year. Tyrese Maxey is actually shooting the ball 3.2% worse than what he did last year. Now, again, that's increased roll, whatever. And then free throw percentage. Coby White's increased that 2%. Tyrese Maxey's actually decreased his free throw shooting percentage by 5.6%. In no way am I saying that Coby White's a better player right now than Tyrese Maxey. But I am saying that when you look at the nature of the name of the award, that Coby White has improved more. And then even taking away the measurable statistics, right? Let's take away the stats part of it. Coby White not only has increased in his role, but also his output. Coby White right now last year he played less than 23 minutes per game. He's now leading the league in minutes played. Coby White also was a bench player who only started 2 games last year. He started every single game for the Chicago Bulls this season. When you look at it objectively, by the nature of the name of most improved, there's not been a player that has improved more on the court, in the statistics, and in their role than what Coby White has done this season for the Chicago Bulls. Tyrese Maxey is a damn good player. Make no mistake about it. And while the politics and the media and all those things are pushing Tyrese Maxey to be the most improved player of the year this season, Coby White's the most improved player. And that's not even left for question anymore. Yes, he's gone through his slumps. Is that going to affect it? Absolutely. But Coby White has been killing it. Coby White has improved more than anybody else. And he just continues to grow, not only in the statistics, in those measurable statistics, but in his understanding, in how he breaks down the defense, in how he steps up in the big moments when he's given those opportunities. Coby White is the most improved player of the year this season, in my opinion. And yes, I am a Bulls fan, but I'm standing on that. Now, will he get the award? That's the part that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens with that. But deservingly, Coby White definitely deserves to be the most improved player this season in the NBA, and we'll see if he can get it. Now, we do take on the Clippers tonight, and the Clippers have already released their injury report. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden all are listed as questionable for the Los Angeles Clippers, but I do expect those guys are probably going to play. If anything, probably 2 out of the 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them still do play in today's game. But when let's break it down. The Los Angeles Clippers come into this game with the 11th best offense in the NBA, averaging 117 points per game. They also shoot the ball the 4th best in the NBA. They have a 49% field goal shooting percentage as a team. And while they are only 20th in three-point attempts per game, taking 33 attempts per game, by the way, the Chicago Bulls take 32.8, basically 33 attempts per game as well, they do hit that at the second best clip at 38.9, basically 39%. So when you look at what the Bulls defense needs to be prepared for against the Los Angeles Clippers offense, we need to be solid defensively. We need to rebound the ball well. The Los Angeles Clippers are the 20th best rebounding team in the NBA. That leaves more than enough for the Bulls to come in there and rebound the ball well. Also, while they don't take a lot of threes, they hit them at a good rate. So the Bulls need to defend that three-point line really well. We've seen the Bulls give up a huge number of three-pointers to teams before. They have to defend that three-point line well. But the Bulls have that leeway in where they can find those wrinkles at, because the Clippers aren't a high-volume three-point shooting team. It means that if they can defend the three-point line well and make efficient shots themselves, they can that gap with the three-pointer that we've seen from other teams shouldn't happen. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, the Clippers are the 10th best defense in the NBA. They only allow 112.6 points per game, so that's almost a 5-point differential between what they score versus what they give up. So the Bulls have to be prepared here, and I would not be surprised if everybody's healthy. This game comes down to which team kicks it up defensively at the right time down the stretch of the game, and that may be what the story of this game ends up becoming if whatever team can step up defensively and get those stops. So what the Bulls need to do today, rebound the ball extremely well, because that is an area that the Clippers are weak at. Match the efficiency in the offense. Even if you can't match their three-point shooting attempts, which both teams are really close with attempts, hit your shots generally, whether it's 3 or anything else, very effectively, and you can do that. Also, the Los Angeles Clippers don't draw a lot of fouls, so we'll see how DeMar DeRozan and the other players, how they get to the free throw line today. But the Bulls have lanes where they can get this win against the Clippers. Now, I, for one, do hope Paul George, Kawhi, and James Harden all play. I'm not somebody who wants to see my team take on weaker teams. I want to see us take advantage of it if it presents itself, but I would love the Bulls to face off with those 3 players and still win this game, sealing their 4-game winning streak. Let's see if the Bulls can do it today. All right, so we're going to get into the mailbag for today, but before we get into the mailbag, we do have to play a message from our sponsor, Aura. I'm sure most of you know anyone can find anything on the internet, including your full legal name and personal email, your home address, phone number, and even your relatives. For me, personally, I never took this kind of stuff seriously, that people can take my personal data and use it for their own financial gain. Well, in 2019, I got my identity stolen, including my social security number and credit card information, and it was a total nightmare getting it all sorted out. From recouping loans that were taken out in my name and shopping sprees on my credit card, there are some really bad people out there, and it's sad to say, but it's true. Do a Google search for your personal information or someone you know and see if a people search site shows up. The information is easily accessible because of data brokers who profit by selling your information to robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, and anyone else that wants to learn more about you. And so for me, protecting my and my family's personal data and information is at the utmost importance because of the terrible experience I had 4 years ago. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura will identify data brokers that are exposing your information and automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf. They will even opt out of junk mail and telemarketing lists. Aura also monitors your emails and passwords to see if they were involved in any data breach and exposed on the dark web. Aura's app also features VPN password manager, real-time credit card and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, and protects your device from malware. Aura has almost every internet safety tool you'll ever need, all inside one app, which is what makes it so amazing, so that you don't have to use multiple platforms and sites to protect yourself. Let Aura do the hard work, keeping you safe online. And if you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link below. You'll be shocked at how much your private information Aura finds exposed over 2 weeks. I was shocked at how much my information Aura was able to find when I was using the app. Go to aura.com/CBC to start your free trial. Also linked in the description, or you can scan the QR code here. Now back to the video. All right. Thank you to Aura for that. Let's go ahead and get into the voicemails. This first voicemail, this one is from our brother, Corn.
Hey, what's the word, King? It's Corn, man. Let's get right into it, man, because I got some things to talk about. Let's get right into it. This is about Coby White. Okay, Coby. I want Coby White, when he go in the off season, I want him to become a student of the game. And what do I mean by being a student of the game? Quick story. Doc, Celtics coach, when he won a championship and eliminated Ron, he was scored. He was LeBron, but he wasn't a student of the game. Like I just said, he was just a scorer. When they played LeBron in Miami, he started calling out their players on defense. He started calling out their spots on offense. We rave about Lonzo Ball IQ, and that's one of the reasons why we miss him. That's what Coby needed to do. I know he did in training with CP3. It's time for him to train with CP3 and call his best friend, one of his best friends, and that is LeBron James, to pick his brain on how to be a student of the game. I think that's the next development of Coby. Watch the tape, watch a lot of tape. Teams are game planning for you now. So you got to affect the games in different ways. Some days you ain't going to have it. So you got to have that IQ to understand what you need to do at this present. Because when I look at Coby, and who we playing today is Monday. De'Aaron Fox, SAG, these guys, Jamal Murray, these guys is who he's going to be measured to in the future. So for him to catch up with these guys, I believe he should truly focus on becoming a student of the game. You know, like I said, I talked about this a little bit on Shy Podcast and all that, talked about that, but that's what I truly believe what Coby needs to do next season. Watch a lot of tape, because after this season, you think they planning for you now? Wait till next season. So for you to counteract that and let the game come to you and pick your spots like an SAG, you got to start watching the tape and be a student of the game. All right, Haize. Always appreciate you, kid. Blessings.
So I do agree with you that Coby White's the most important things to me that Coby White needs to work on this offseason is drawing more fouls. It's that's something that's sustainable. If your shot isn't falling, you can get to the free throw line. That's definitely going to help you. And then understanding how to pace himself and the offense when defenses are trying to key in on him and keep the ball out of his hands. So I agree with you there. Now, I wouldn't say that Coby is a student of the game, but I know what you meant by that. Coby White is one of probably the players that actually studies the game the most in his offseason and really puts in that work. But understanding that IQ portion of it, of what you're saying, definitely, if that comes around, you better watch out. Coby's going to be a dangerous player if that happens. If he starts getting into that place where he's understanding what the defenses are trying to do before they start doing it, or right when they start doing it, and identifies how he needs to change his game, it could go a big part for Coby. Also, when he goes through those slumps, all right, how do you get your other players involved? What do you do at that point, right? So definitely agree with you. Coby White, trying to see him round out to the best version of himself, that is the next step. Now, I'll say chill on the SGA comparisons there, my guy, right? That's a player leading the league in scoring that is an MVP caliber player, but Coby White definitely still has more room to grow. And by the nature of how hard that Coby works, I definitely think that there's a chance that may happen. Great voicemail there, Corn. Let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Big O.
What's the word, Haize? It's Big O, man. Calling in, man. I want to chime and talk about the AO and Coby backcourt. Hey, man, them dudes killing it right now, man. I love what I'm seeing from them two guys, man. I know you guys was talking about is that or could be the long-term backcourt, for the Bulls, and I say, it could be. I mean, the way AO is playing, I mean, you mentioned in your last video, AO has took I ain't gonna say a larger step than Coby, but just as of a big enough giant step, you know what I mean? His game, increasing his three-point shot, his defense is back. Man, he just looked like he in much better shape, and he looked way more confident in what he's doing out there on the floor. So I have to give definitely credit to the player development staff, and even Billy Donovan, to a degree, got them guys clicking. But, when you talk about Coby and AO backcourt for the future, I'm not sitting up here and going to tell you that that's going to be the backcourt that's going to win you a championship. But when you and Pat was talking about it on Locked On, it's like, okay, can it? Yeah, it can work. Yeah, they can run together. But at what goal? You know what I'm saying? What's the goal for those two guys? Can they be successful? Can they be a good playoff team? I believe so. But like I said, I wouldn't tell you that they'll be a championship team. It's always going to come down to that superstar player. And that's really what it is. I know you talked about, bringing, having an extra shooter off the bench and, the other pieces in the starting lineup. But at the end of the day, the Bulls still don't have to have that superstar player that bring it all together. And the thing about, when these teams get lucky, drafting or trading for superstar players, you just don't know in what position you're going to be able to get one at. You know what I mean? So with those two in the backcourt, can you get a superstar big man, or a small forward? Then it makes sense. But if you got a guy like Devin Booker, for example, that want to play with the Bulls, then obviously one of those guys going to be moved to the bench because you got a true number one option on your team. So I think that's just what it comes down to, who the superstar player is and what position does he play. Will he allow Ayo and Coby to still play in the backcourt, or would it be somebody that's going to come in and move them off to the bench, or possibly, have them off the team, trade it all together? So, but I definitely think those two guys can compete in the East as long as you put a competent, team around them. So that's all I got for you, brother. I'll let you on the next.
First of all, the man's name is Ayo, not Ayo. Come on, man. Come on, Big O. Ayo DeSumo, who's been on the team 3 years, my guy. Just got to throw some fun towards Big O there. That's my homie, man. But here's the thing. I don't think Kobe's going to bench regardless. I don't think that the Bulls are any chance of benching. And if Ayo does eventually move to the bench, he's already shown enough that he can thrive and be impactful in that role as well. So I agree with you. Depending on what and where you pair with Coby White, then yeah, of course. Like, of course, like there's a chance that Ayo can move to the bench. But if, let's say that they do find their star player at the wing or power forward or whatever it is, then I do think that Ayo and Coby can be a formidable backcourt together. It really depends, as we said in that episode, how you build out the rest of the team is what's going to determine if Coby and Ayo are your backcourt for the future. So, but I think both of those guys have shown the chemistry between those two, the chemistry between their games and how their weaknesses kind of overlap and cover each other. I think that they can be a really solid backcourt, and they're showing and improving it. Let's see if it continues. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Michael Korn.
Hey, Haize, Mike Korn here. On the podcast, one question about running it back next year, possibly. I'm down with that. But with a big if. And this is something that you and Pat, the designer, referred to a couple days ago after the Sacramento game, and that is DeMar play about 5, 6, 7 minutes less, moving forward or next year. And Vooch, hopefully play less. And, but it was the first time I've listened to Pat Designer, some on the 1,000 episode or 1,000-day stream on Friday. But anyway, that was great, and I did not listen or watch right after the game, and that was the day after, of course. But I liked what he said. As far as you're talking about the Bulls and clutch, that's awesome. I'm just thinking, Vince Lombardi said winning is not everything, but wanting to win is. And when you're performing in a clutch, man, that shows something. And just like watching Coby White's interview the other day, somewhere, I think it was like a Casey Johnson interview, that he wants to win, man. So if the next 20, 21 games, the Bulls really come out putting it all in and just going and winning, and if they get that dog mentality, who knows, Bulls could get to 500, and it may not be that impressive, but considering where we started and how far they can go, that would be good, man. I would take that as a decent season. And anyway, listen, have a good night. I hope they kick Utah's ass today. Cheers. Bye-bye.
If DeMar can play 5 to 6 minutes less, well, first we got to make sure he's going to be here next year, right? And then it's building out that depth. And I think when you see it, if everybody's back, right? Zach's back, Arnold Lop, you got Julian Phillips, Dalen ready to take steps up. I do think there's more than enough reason to think that we can get those minutes lower. And that's probably what you want to see, right? So, we'll end up seeing. First, that comes with if DeMar is going to come back. What number is he coming back at? Those are the type of things that are important in that, and we'll see. Now, the Bulls in the clutch. it's been so great to see the Bulls be such a good clutch team, right? It's been great to see that. And so, if the Bulls get to 500, which they're one game below 500 now, I know you left this a little bit before then. If they can get to 500, all right, what do you do? What's next at that point, right? How do you continue? Do you continue playing above 500, or do you get to 500 and then lose 4 games and then we're right back where we started out, right? So more so than worried about getting to 500 or not, I want to see the sustained good play from the Chicago Bulls and then let everything kind of come its way at that point in time, which I do think the Bulls can and have shown the ability to do. We just need to do it consistently, and let's hope that does happen. But great voicemails always from Michael Korn, one of my favorite callers on this channel. Let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Shay.
Hey, so what's up? This Shay. A lot of people have been talking about how we've been struggling to beat the good teams without their best players, or some of the best teams without some of their best players. Look, I'm here to tell you this. Even though we've been playing better without them, keep in mind the Bulls are still missing three of their best players. Now, look, I understand that we've been doing better since Zach LaVine has been gone, but let's face it, this team is the first time they've ever been on a little bit of a winning streak this season without Zach LaVine and without Lonzo Ball, even though he's only played one season with us. So let's not negate to remember Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine, who played a big factor in us winning the first year we all got together, has been missing for majority of the season. So with this whole, why are we struggling against these bad teams without their best player, or why are we struggling against teams without their best players, or why are we struggling, period? Remember, some of our main players, one of our main scorers, our main defenders, and our main distributors are missing from the season too. So that's one of the biggest reasons. Hey, that's all I got to say. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
So we did go on a 4-game winning streak before. So this isn't the first time we've had a winning streak like that. So we have had a 4-game winning streak. But I do agree that people forget that the Bulls have dealt with injuries the whole season. And what some fans look at it and say, well, the Bulls they're lucky because this player's out on the other teams. Well, we're missing a 20-point per game scorer in Zach LaVine. I'm not going to count Lonzo because we knew he wasn't going to come play. They said that he wasn't going to play this season, so I'm not going to count Lonzo. But at times this season, we've missed DeMar, we've missed Vooch, we've missed Patrick Williams, we missed Torrey Craig. And while those players, some of those players aren't the players that are going to average 20 points per game, they are important to how the Chicago Bulls play defense and how the Chicago Bulls play overall, and that's definitely impacted the team. We've missed high-level rope. Alex Caruso's also missed some of those games. So the Bulls have dealt with their own injuries, and I think they've dealt with it really well. So I think when people are going to throw that, well, the other team's player was out, keep in mind, we're also missing players, and we are having players step up in new ways for the Chicago Bulls. Great points there. All right, let's get into this last voicemail for today. This one's from Reginald.
Hey, this is Reginald from Columbus, Georgia. Just calling after that Detroit that win against Golden State. I called because even though I'm happy for the jump, I still gotta look at the game as a whole. The team still rebounding and scoring in the paint. The Bulls not boxing out, not taking advantage of their size to get those boards. Committing too many turnovers, things like that. Just fundamental basketball. And like I said, while I like to win, I just can't help but, point out the obvious mistakes that the Bulls made. But also looking at the positive side, like I said, a win's a win. And Bulls are now 1 game behind, from being 500, 3 games behind being in the 8th spot. And am I looking at the Bulls saying, okay, now they figured it out, they're gonna do big things? No. Because we've seen the story before. They get 1 or 2 games under 500, and then they lose like 2 of the next 3 games, and now they're gonna fight back and hopefully get back to where they was. So right now, I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting everything to still be the same. My question to you is, what would you do on these last 20 games of the regular season? Would you play a guy like Torrey Craig more and let him get his minutes back? Would you bench Jabal Carter? Because even though he had a good game, I fully expect him to mess up. Go back to where his baseline is, which is just jacking up random shots. And how do you get David Terry and Julius Fields their minutes? Thanks for listening.
All right, so great question here as far as who's going to play when. And I think when it comes down to it, if you were playing and development was the focus, then of course I want to see the young guys play. But because the Bulls are trying to win the most games possible, I would say that it comes down to who's playing the best that night, right? And that means you're going to have to try get creative with lineups, who brings what you need for that any given game. And I think Javon Carter, as long as Javon Carter plays like he has the last 2 games, he's going to be getting minutes. And I got to give him credit. He's played really well over the last 2 or 3 games, actually. And let's see if that continues. But if it doesn't, then yeah, to me, Dalen, Julian should be above Javon Carter than what he's been playing the majority of the season. And Torrey Craig is going to get the minutes because he's the ultimate glue guy, and he's important for the Chicago Bulls to kind of fit all those things together, and he can score some when you need him to. So I think that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. But we're going to see a lot of growth from this team because of that. And, the player development part is doing its work as well. I would love to see Dalen and Julian and Ernalop keep getting minutes for this team. But when you have veterans that are playing well, what we know about Billy Donovan, he's going to play those veterans. So we'll see where it ends up going. Reginald, great voicemail there. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.